All right. So now what we want to do is we want to transition from this idea of play for play's sake, for this this isn't an important thing. This is just a little bit of learning in the background, secondary things like learning socialization or learning these adult behaviors. And now we're going to transition that into sport. And we talked about it as being a natural competition that happens within something like dance, where you're trying to be the best dancer so that you can win a better mate. But then there's the other important component of this, and this is that's always historical tight connection between sport and war. Because if we look back and we take a look at when play transitioned to sport and how sport was related to war, what we look at is we look at kind of the classic Olympics. So the original Olympics, when the competitions were pentathlon, wrestling, boxing, pankration, which is like mixed martial arts, and equestrian. And if you look at all of these things are things that you would use in war. The pentathlon was running. You ran 200, 400, and about a 5K. That's really interesting because as we talk about this and we talk about the physiology of the best intervals to run to improve your endurance, 200 meters, 5K, those are two ideal lengths of time to run. The 400 meters a little bit short. We would have said 800 to 1200 meters, but they did a 400 meter. Jumping, again, discus throw. Discus was a weapon or something that could be used to hunt. Wrestling, obviously something you would use in hand-to-hand combat. Boxing, MMA type of things. Those are all combat-based sport. And then equestrian, at this time, you have to be able to ride your horse to be able to be a great warrior. So it's not a really difficult thing to see how sport and war are very tightly connected. For us, when we talk about this, ancient Greece is where a lot of the terms come from. So now we're going to talk about a sport athlete. That word athlete comes from this word athlein, which is a contest for a prize. Athlos, a contest, and athlon, a prize. So what we're doing is we're playing a contest for a prize, and the one who wins is the athlete. The athlete is the one who wins the contest and wins the prize for winning the contest. But really, if we look, so I spent 5 years, had the beautiful opportunity to spend 5 years in Scotland, running my first laboratory. And they have something called the Scottish Games. And the Scottish Games, again, was a way to keep men and women for Scots fit in the times of peace. And so what you would do is you would have all of the men or all of the athletes competing in one race. And you can see here, this is a sprint race. And you can see that this guy is much further ahead than this guy. That's because the guy right here, he is a lot younger and stronger. So what they're doing is they know that they don't have a lot of people within the community. They want everybody to be able to compete, but they know it's not fair if they all start at the same spot. So what they do is they have a graded starting position so that even if you're older, even if you're middle, or even if you're young and strong, you're all competing at the same time. And it's really, really a great way to stay fit for any types of possible war in the future. So this is the Royal Braemar Highland Games. You can see this, what they call a hill back here. There's a hill race where they run up the hill and back. Took 20 something minutes to go up the hill and back. This, again, is the classic starting point for sport. Sport is a way to prepare for war. And just like that, one of the other things that we always do, we have done in our society, we do with our society, other societies, sport is a great way to generate this us versus them mentality. If you want to really allow yourself to bring a group of individuals together, one of the things that you do is you say it's us versus them. You make them the people who we're fighting against, and us, we're all together as one. There's no greater thing to do to rally yourself together than sport. You see that every 4 years at the Olympics. You see that every 4 years at the World Cup. It is this great human pride when your team performs well. You see it all over the United States. You see that in California here, we've got the Giants versus the Dodgers. We've got in the Midwest, you've got Michigan, Ohio State, one of the greatest rivalries of all time. You've got in basketball, the Celtics versus the Lakers. You've got Duke in North Carolina. All of these rivalries, what they're doing is they're splitting society into us. We are together. We socialize together. We are going to stand together against them. Again, so you've got all of these different things where sports are a surrogate for war. It's developing the us mentality. We are together and they are the enemy. And this is one of the most important things that sport is used for. And this was never seen to a greater degree than in the Olympic sporting. So this is, and we're going to talk about this is an East German female athlete. She doesn't look like a female athlete because of her musculature, but that's because East Germany at the time, that was the former East Germany, they were a communist country. They wanted to show that they were better than other countries. And what they did is they took the Olympics as an opportunity to do that. They, instead of having to fight a war against people, what they wanted to do is they wanted to show their greatness as a very, very, very small country. And so what they did is they had a very well-developed hormone treatment system, a way that they could treat their athletes with hormones that would allow, especially their female athletes, to have much, much higher performance levels. I told you one of the greatest of all times us moments was the U.S. Olympic hockey team, where they beat the famous Soviet-Russian hockey team in one of the greatest sporting events of all time. I told you earlier, Invictus is a movie based on Nelson Mandela and the South African recovery after apartheid, when they brought the World Championships of Rugby there, and the South African rugby team was able to unite the country of South Africa by winning the World Championships in rugby. All of these things are surrogates of war, ways that we can bring us together, ways that we can show that we are better than somebody else out there. And that's one of the great things that sports can do.